Okay, alright, so here we go. Okay, so first, what is your name?
Judy Averett.
Okay, and where were you born and where did you grow up?
I was born in Little Rock. I grew up in Dumas, Fordyce, and Little Rock.
Oh, really? Okay, and what was your neighborhood like when you were a kid?
Well, I'll just use Little Rock. Growing up, I grew up downtown across the street from the governor's mansion. It was a nice neighborhood, big old houses, lots of different age people. My friends lived close. Yeah.
And who were you closest to when you were a kid? Like, what was your best friend's name? Or...
My best friend's name was Margaret Barlow, and we are still best friends 50 years later.
Oh, that's great. What are some of your fondest childhood memories?
Every year, my dad was a minister, and every year, Methodist minister, every year we went to Hot Springs for a vacation, and it was always wonderful. Someone would lend him a big house that all of us kids could stay in, and my grandparents, and we'd go over to Lake Hamilton or Lake Ouachita and stay for a couple of weeks and fish and ski. It was a lot of fun.
And how many brothers and sisters did you have?
I have 3 brothers and 3 sisters.
Okay. And were you close to your grandparents?
I was. My mother's mother lived with us, and my father's father. They'd each lost a spouse, and so they lived with us.
Oh.
Yes. We were very close. My grandma taught me to sew, and my grandpa made all kinds of toys for us to play with, stick horses and everything.
Oh, that's great. And where did you go to school for, like, elementary school and then junior high and then high school? And just, like, what was your experience like during those?
Okay, I went to Wrightsville Elementary School, which is downtown on Chester, and it was a lot of fun. It was about 6 blocks from my house. We walked to school back then, and because it was close, neighborhood school. That's where I met Margaret. We had lots of friends. Just as an aside, we had a Wrightsville reunion last Friday night.
Oh, really?
Then I went to Eastside Junior High, which is over on Scott Street in downtown Little Rock. And I was a cheerleader.
Oh.
I really liked it. It was the Eastside Hornets. This part of the reunion was Wrightsville and Eastside Junior High. Not everyone has those kind of reunions. And then I attended Central High School.
Really?
And I really liked Central High School. I was part of the Beta Club. We had a special club called the Sophisticates, which we started in the 10th grade, Sam for sophomores, and we did all sorts of things. We got to go to Dallas after Kennedy was shot. It was really an interesting thing. I was always on student council all 3 years for my homeroom. Really liked Central.
That's great. And how would you describe, like, just teenagers in general when you were a teenager or when you were in high school?
Well, we really liked to hang out at these hamburger places. Our favorite one, McDonald's had just come in, but our favorite one was called Minuteman. It was out on University. But we also did this loop thing when we all got driver's license, and we'd go downtown to Snappy's, out to Markham to a hamburger joint called Sandy's, down to Minuteman and McDonald's. Had this big loop. Got to Geyer Springs to a hamburger joint called Roaches, oddly enough. Anyway, it was a lot of fun. The guys liked to race their cars. There were no houses out West Markham. It was flat and straight, and we did a little drag racing out there.
That sounds fun. So like, just how do you think like people's attitudes back then like differ from people's attitudes now, or like their values or morals and stuff like that? Like, what do you see differently in teenagers now than like the teenagers you hung around with and how you acted?
Well, I think the biggest difference I see personally is that all the kids I hung out with always went to church, and I do think that's a big thing now that a lot of young people don't go to church. We all have different churches. Some Methodist. Margaret was Church of Christ, and had a real good friend that was Baptist. Emmanuel Baptist was downtown, and but we all did stuff with each other's churches, especially on like weekends and on Sunday afternoon and Sunday night. We would go to each other's different churches, and there were always youth groups to hang with and stuff. We went to camp. I went to camp in the summer, church camp, and stayed for a week. And so I think that's different, because now it seems like young people are more more into video games, and they're not as maybe social as we were. We had video games, so we didn't even know what that was. But
Yeah. What were some of your favorite classes when you went to Central?
oh, I really had some good classes at Central. I met this cutest guy that I went with all through Central in my English class. So I always liked English. And then I liked my biology classes because I saw myself as going into the medical field. I liked chemistry, biology, not real fond of geometry. I did like algebra, you know. And my homeroom teacher was an accounting teacher, and I really liked all that.
Oh.
So that was fun.
And when you were in high school, did you know like what career field you wanted to go into, or like if you wanted to stay at home, or just like whatever you wanted to do like career wise?
I think I always wanted to be a nurse. It didn't really happen that way, but I saw myself as going into nursing. I had all these years of Latin. I took at Central, 3 years of
Really?
Latin, 10, 11, 12th grade. But I did somehow think medical field, but I think I thought nursing more than anything. But turns out that's not what I did. But I did want to get married and have a family, yes.
And okay, so what were some of the craziest trends you saw? Whether you were in high school or a young adult.
Okay, teenage girls, this was a crazy thing they did. We took a piece of our hair and sprayed it with all these different colors. I mean, I know they still do some of that today, but it was really cool to have a streak of some color, silver, gold, pink, blue, something in your hair.
Oh.
Usually a teacher would tell you to wash it out. But if it were just silver or gold, you were okay, as far as you didn't have to. A lot of the kids also wore way short dresses. My mom had this rule about how short those dresses could be, because we did, in those days, have to wear dresses to school. No pants, no shorts.
So you just made them short instead of...
And very tight.
When you were living at home, like before you left, after you're 18, when you were living there, what was one of your favorite things to do with your whole family?
Well, when we were kids, when we were younger, especially in Fordyce, now the whole family went to the drive-in movie. That was the big thing. We always had a TV. I do remember always having a TV. It was black and white, not pretty color. But the funnest thing to do was, and even as a young teenager, an older teenager in Little Rock, the drive-in movie was so cool. You could just get so many kids, pile them in the car and go. But my parents taught us that way back. We just put all the kids in. The kids would gather in one area, and the parents might be in each other's cars. It was just really cool. I saw lots of cool movies at the drive-in theater. I loved the drive-in movies.
Yeah. Okay. And what was your favorite age to be ever? It could be whether you were an adult or a kid or a teenager.
I don't know, it's pretty cool right now. I have these fabulous grandkids, especially one that hits 15, almost 16. But I don't know, I as a teenager, I loved it when I turned 16. And I could get a driver's license. I loved it when I got married at 19 and had, my kids, your dad, and his sister. Yeah, I mean, it was good. But I'm really happy now, too. There's so many opportunities for me to do. I get to be with all of y'all, my family. I'm going to school, back to college. I'm having fun.
That's great. What were some funny things you remember that just stick out in your mind that your family did, or your sister, brother?
I have to tell you about my sister. I have an older sister who thought that if you could just put TP, toilet paper, on everyone's yard, it was just the thing. And back then it was the thing to do. And so one night we went to roll my boyfriend's house, and we had all this toilet paper in our arms, and we're walking up, we're plotting our strategy, because she taught us how to toss it so it would roll perfect. His mom comes to the door and looks at us and says, "What are you girls doing?" And my older sister looked, and she looked at us, and we're standing there with all this toilet paper, looking for the bathroom, and then we took off running. We went back later and rolled the house, though.
That's funny. But she knew it was.
Yeah, she knew. She knew, yeah.
Looking for the bathroom. Okay, what are some things that you dislike about